How the mind works. How the mind works will be shown in a story featuring Fred and Linda. This is Fred. Let us start with something harmless, with Fred looking at a tree. This is what that looks like. Now it is getting more complicated. Whilst Fred is looking at the tree, he is thinking of Linda. The ring around Linda is supposed to signify that you're looking at a memory of Fred or at one of his imaginations. Please note that memories as well as imaginations appear to us as images. They can be seen with the mind's eye on our mental screen. Such images are to be found in Fred's inner world, so they do not belong to the real world, the outer world, but to Fred's private world as a spiritual being. They are part of Fred's mind. You will have noticed that there is no ring around the tree. That is supposed to signify that the tree is part of the real world. You will also have noticed the small lumps of plasticine inside the ring around Linda. They are meant to represent Fred's attention flakes. Attention is a type of mental energy. It could be represented as a cloud of attention flakes or mind flakes. The imagination image Fred is forming of Linda consists entirely of compressed mind flakes. It is comparable to a snowman consisting of compressed snowflakes. Since Fred does not think of anything but his girlfriend, he does not actually see the tree, although his eyes are directed towards it. Now Fred begins to notice the tree. He places his attention flakes around the tree. Only now does Fred actually become aware of the tree. This is due to his attention being on it. Before, Fred had merely directed his eyes towards the tree, but now he is actually becoming conscious of it. But Fred's attention is split, since at the same time he's also thinking of Linda. At long last, Fred is getting curious. He wonders what sort of tree this might be. Fred is fully concentrated now. He is only conscious of the tree and of nothing else. He does not think of Linda anymore. Fred has recognized this tree to be an apple tree. With that, his curiosity is satisfied. With this, the perception of the tree is finished. Fred takes his attention off the tree and puts it fully on Linda. A new perception process is initiated. Before we move on to the dramatic part of the story, we are going to take a brief look at 3 lessons. Lesson 1. You are capable of directing your attention on your senses, on your hearing, smelling, tasting and feeling. This way you make yourself conscious of the outer world, the real world, just as Fred did with respect to the tree. Likewise, you are capable of directing your attention on what you already know. You think of something, just as Fred was thinking of Linda. This way you create your inner world, the world of your mind. It is through your attention that the perception of the real world and the memory images and imagination images in your mind come to be. Lesson 2. Only as long as you actually put attention on your hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting and feeling are you consciously aware of it. Without putting any attention on your seeing, you would be as if blind. Without attention on your hearing, you would be as if deaf. The same applies with regard to the images in your mind. Without putting attention on the images of your inner world, you are not fully conscious of them, which also means that you are not in control of them. So there is the danger that they might control you. Lesson 3. A perception process is finished as soon as you have a conclusive realization. As soon as you have realized what it is all about, you will not need to deal with it any longer. Your attention goes off it all by itself. Should you remain engaged with something on which you have had a conclusive realization, you will feel boredom, fatigue, and listlessness. This applies to your relationship with the inner world just as much as to that with the outer world. We continue with our story of Fred and Linda. We left them at a point when Fred was thinking strongly of Linda. Today, Fred is thinking particularly strongly of Linda. He places a fat cloud of attention flakes in her direction wherever he assumes her to be. In the course of that, an imagination is produced. But more than that could happen. A telepathic perception could occur, an actual remote viewing experience. Fred, by means of his attention only, and without using his eyes, locates the real Linda, who just then is picking a real flower. Now Fred sees a mental image which fully corresponds to the real world. This means he is viewing Linda by telepathy. He is getting a telepathic image. Such an incident can be confirmed right after it has happened, for example by a phone call. Should Fred and Linda place attention on each other simultaneously, and should both of them become aware of this, telepathic interaction can occur. Linda senses that Fred is thinking of her. Linda senses that Fred is thinking of her. That's why she is now thinking of him. This again is felt by Fred. Their attention clouds mingle. Once one has understood this, there is plenty of other stuff one could also understand. White and black magic, for example, work in a similar way. White magic blesses and heals, it leaves no traces. Black magic, in contrast, is based on the telepathic effects of evil thoughts and images. Fred perceives the evil image sufficiently to be influenced by it. Yet he refuses to become fully aware of it. He represses it. This is why the image can take an effect on him. Therefore Fred feels the heart pain intended for him by the magician. Something similar can happen when you get in touch with the attention clouds and images of other people made at the moment of accidents or catastrophes. In the next scene, Fred walks past a place where someone got murdered. Here also Fred senses the image sufficiently to feel creepy, yet he refuses to recognize the content of the image for what it is. He puts a compressed cloud of mind flakes against it in order to protect himself. He represses the image. Precisely for this reason, the contact with it is getting stronger and stronger. Eventually, the force of the image pushes through and acts on Fred's body. He feels heart pain. The same happens with your own memory images if you push against them in order to repress them. The next scenes will show you that. When Fred looked at the knife, an old memory was activated. But since Fred repressed it, it did not become conscious. The memory could refer to an incident from your present life. It could also be from a past life. Fred might have been severely wounded in this life. He might have been murdered in the remote past. Lesson 4. A memory image is like a cloud of mind flakes. The size, density, and intensity of such a cloud can vary. It depends on how much you blow it up. The more mind flakes you pump into it, and the more you compress it, the more intense will the memory become. A memory image has at its content the emotions of the past incident, the good and evil intentions prevalent then, the action sequence, the environment, and the people involved. When a memory image has been activated and is repressed, the result can be rather uncomfortable for yourself, as we saw in the example of Fred. But other people could also be affected by it. Linda wants to cut an apple in half in order to share it with Fred. But Fred just sees the knife in her hand, nothing but the knife. And then Fred has run away for fear that he might get killed by Linda. But it could still be worse. Fred attacks Linda because he is convinced that she is intending to kill him. Lesson 5. Refusing to become conscious of mental images can have harmful effects on your health, your thinking, your emotions, and your behavior in general. It does not play a role whether those images were created by you or were picked from others. Either way, you might feel discomfort. Lesson 6. Terrifying images from the past are the reason why people are unhappy and give each other a hard time. You do not recognize the environment around you and the people in front of you for what they really are, but you rather see them as if through a filter made of old images. Unrecognized images from the inner world make things in the outer world appear worse than they really are. Fortunately, there is a remedy. Lesson 7. When you view a terrifying memory image or imagination image with loving amazement, when you accept its contents fully, when you let its emotions pass through without restraint, it will lose its destructive power. This is true for your own images as well as for those picked up from others. It is so much easier to get close to each other without any personal or attached images being in the way. One can really enjoy being with each other. For a change, you could also think of nothing. Quite a relaxing experience, really. Many thanks for your interest. Should you wish to find out more, you could have a look at this homepage, www.mindwalking.eu. Click on the English language version, or write to rolf-ulrich.kramer@mindwalking.de.